Let's do a quick review of composition of functions. Given that f of x equals that square root function and g of x equals that quadratic function, first we want to find g of f of x. So remember, that means you're going to work from the inside out and you're going to take the f function and plug it into the g function. So that would be 4 minus, always plug in using parentheses, the square root of x plus 5 quantity squared. When simplifying, the square and the square root will go away. Make sure you put that x plus 5 in a parenthesis so that you can subtract the entire binomial and get 4 minus x minus 5, which would simplify down to negative x minus 1. That is our answer for g of f of x, or part 1 of the question. From there, it says state the domain and the zeros. Now recall, when you're doing the domain, there's several steps you must think through. It is not just the domain of the composition that we just found. We need to find the domain of the inner. We need to find the domain of the composition, and then the answer is the overlap of those two. So our inner function is the f of x, which is the square root of x plus 5. So remember, for a domain of a square root function, you take what's underneath the square root and set it greater than or equal to 0. That, of course, when you solve, will be x is greater than or equal to negative 5. The domain of our composition, that's a linear function or a line, that would always be all real numbers. So the overlap of x is greater than or equal to negative 5 and all real numbers will be x is greater than or equal to negative 5. Here is your set notation answer. If you'd prefer interval notation, it would be negative 5 to infinity. So there's our answer for domain. Then to find your zeros, this is also a two-step process. You set the composition equal to 0 and solve. So I'll just add x to the other side. And then before we write that as a coordinate point, we need to check it and we need to ensure that it falls in our domain. So negative 1 is greater than or equal to negative 5, so it does work. So our 0 is negative 1, 0. And now that we've done our conics, our circles, our ellipses, and our hyperbolas, we'll be able to do some more compositions. So we're going to look at the exact same problem, the exact same two functions, but we're going to do f of g of x instead. This time the directions say find an graph. Then we'll state the domain and zeros using the graph. So once it's graph, we can just look at the graph to define those two things, which is what we did at the very beginning of this chapter. So f of g of x means we're going to take the g function and we're going to plug it into the f function. So that would be f of g of x is equal to the square root, again, always plug in using parentheses, although here it won't matter, of the 4 minus x squared plus 5. And since those parentheses don't matter, just simplifying it would give me 9 minus x squared. Now in place of the f of g of x, I'll just put a y to help us to graph that. So remember, any square root function that we're thinking about, we're thinking half conic. This specifically, our y has an a value that's positive, k is 0 as it's been in all of our examples so far. So we're going to say y is greater than or equal to 0 since it opens up, which means we're going to have the top half of whatever conic we have here. So at this point we'll square both sides. So y squared equals 9 minus x squared, getting x squared on the same side as the y squared. You can see that we have both x squared and y squared that are positive, both with coefficients of 1. So this is going to be a circle. That center is at 0, 0 with a radius of 3. But remember, we're only going to draw the top half of our graph. So we'll just go left, right, and up to get that semicircle. So that's part A, finding f of g of x and graphing. Now with the graph, so using our graph, we can find the domain next, which is just your possible values for x, which is your left and right. So the values that are covered go from negative 3 to positive 3. So using set notation, it'd be the set of x's such that negative 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. Or using interval notation, -3 to 3. And our zeros are where our graph crosses our x-axis or touches, and it touches both at positive and -3, 0. So that would be the answer to part 2. Now below it says, can you find the domain in zeros without graphing? So we actually can, and we're just going to ask you to do one or the other. Ideally, if we say graph, you might as well use the graph. It's just quicker. But the domain, remember, you have to find the domain of the inner, the domain of the composition, and then the overlap. So the inner function this time is the g of x function, which is going to be 4 minus x squared. That's a quadratic function. U shape, upside down, goes left and right forever. So the domain of the inner is all real numbers. The composition is a square root function. And remember, we take what's underneath the square root, set it greater than or equal to 0, and solve. Now with this one, we're going to isolate. So I'm going to subtract 9. I'm going to divide by -1 and get x squared is less than or equal to 9. Now to properly show work for this, there's one of two things you can do. You can subtract 9, factor, and use what's called a sign analysis chart, which some of you may have done last year. Or we can square root both sides, but what you would have to do is remember what you also learned in Algebra 2 last year, all of you, is that this left-hand side is going to need to go in absolute value bars because it is a even degree to start, an even index, and comes out with an odd degree answer. So we would get the absolute value of x is less than or equal to 3, and then we'd have to split that into two cases, which is something you learned in Algebra 1. It's been a really long time. X is less than or equal to 3, and x is greater than or equal to -3. So for the opposite case, you flip the symbol and the sign, and since this is a less than, we say less than, and means overlap. So we'll have to look for the overlap of those two, which would be between -3 and 3. So that's the answer to the composition. Here is the answer to the inner. The overlap is going to be that -3 to 3, which we got much easier using the graph up above. And as for the zeros, that one's not as difficult. You take the composition, set it equal to 0, and solve. So if we square both sides to get rid of the square root, add x squared to the other side, and square root both sides. Technically, again, you need those absolute value bars, but we've been going just to plus or minus 3. However, don't circle them yet or write them as coordinate points until you check to make sure they're within your domain, which they are. So we would get 3, 0, and -3, 0. So we have that up above as well, but this confirms it that we can do it algebraically instead of just graphically. Now let's look at a second example. Letter C. So again, we're going to find and graph f of g of x. So we're going to take the g function and plug it into the f function. So f of g of x is going to equal negative the square root of 9 minus, always plug in using parentheses, 5 minus x squared. Cleaning that up would be -9 minus 5 plus x squared, or negative the square root of 4 plus x squared. Again, we'll use y to help us for the next step. So to graph this, the first thing I think of is half, specifically half where y is less than or equal to 0 because it opens down. So we're going to have the bottom half of whatever. And now I'll square both sides. If you'd prefer to divide by -1 first, you can. Subtracting the x squared, I see we have both x squared and y squared, but one of them is negative, so that's going to be a hyperbola. And so when we have a hyperbola, we need to divide by 4 and get that equal to 1. So it'll be y squared over 4 minus x squared over 4 equals 1. So a squared, or my transverse axis, is y. B squared, or my conjugate axis, is under x. Centered at 0, 0. Our vertex will go up and down 2, but in this case, since we only want the bottom half, just down 2. So 0, -2. Our co-vertices would be left and right 2. So that will be at plus or minus 2, 0. Remember, we want to use our box or our corners to draw our asymptote lines. And since the y is the positive and we're looking for the bottom half, we're opening up and down, in this case just down. So that would be what the graph looks like. Finishing up part 1, finding and graphing the composition. Now part 2, I want to know what the domain is. So looking at your picture, your graph goes left and right forever. So it is x such that all real numbers, or using interval notation, negative infinity to infinity. And this graph never actually touches or crosses the x-axis, so there are no zeros, so no or none. And just one final time, we'll double check and make sure we know how to do this algebraically, but once you get to the last example, you can just answer using the graph. So domain first, domain of our inner function again is a parabola, so it's all real numbers. Domain of the composition, so the negative square root of 4 plus x squared. So underneath the square root, 4 plus x squared is greater than or equal to 0, or x squared is greater than or equal to negative 4. And even if you square root both sides, you're going to get the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to, and this is going to be imaginary numbers. So we're not going to actually be able to do that. So I'm just going to go back here and point out that notice when you plug something in for x, you're going to square it. So no matter what you plug in for x, it's always going to be positive, and you're going to add 4 to it, which is just going to give you a bigger positive number. So there is no restriction on what x can be. So this is all real numbers. And then overlap of all real numbers with all real numbers is, of course, all real numbers. So one of these two notations to answer that question for domain. And then our zeros, something similar happens. You take the composition, set it equal to 0. Of course, you can divide by -1 first, which isn't going to change anything. Square both sides. 4 plus x squared equals 0. Subtract 4, and notice, same idea. We go to square root. We can't take the square root of a negative number, which would mean we would have no zeros. So both of those confirming what I have up above, that the graph will do for me as long as I know how to graph. So now you're going to go ahead and do the last one. I'm going to ask you some prompting questions in Edpuzzle that I'd like you to answer as you do the problem. And so there'll be some nice checkpoints to make sure you're on the right track. And then once you finish this, you'll be able to get the homework. So here's your answer to your composition. Thinking of that as y, you have a opening up shape. So y should be greater than or equal to 0, so you should be getting your top half. So the equation you should be getting for your ellipse, because they're both positive but don't have coefficients of 1, should be x squared over 25 plus y squared over 100 is equal to 1. So to finish up with this graph, you should have a center of 0, 0, a vertex. If we're doing the top half, our larger a squared is under y, so it's going to be up and down, would be at 0, 10. Our co-vertices at plus or minus 5, 0. So left and right 5, and just up 10, which will just be slightly off your graph, just the top half of your ellipse. So now just answer the final 2 questions. So here's your domain. You should be getting -5 to 5, either using interval or set notation. And lastly, your zeros, which are plus or minus 5, 0, where your graph touches or crosses the x-axis. Now that you've finished the Edpuzzle video, you can ask the substitute for the homework sheet. Whatever you don't finish in class needs to be finished for homework. Please note, if you're not using your class time wisely, that is going to leave for a lot of homework for you to do on your own. So please make sure you're working, and you may work together if you'd like, but be working so that you don't have much homework, and I will see you tomorrow.